Hey everyone, you're with Tesla Tom. Thanks so much for joining us on Ludicrous Feed. You know what? I like to keep my channel real because I'm a real person. I make mistakes. I'm by no means perfect. And I'm feeling the pain right now because over the last 12 months, I paid $150 to my power company for absolutely nothing. And it hurts, you know? It's not the dollar amount, it's just the principle of the matter. You can feel the pain on my face, can't you? Because this money was paid to my power company for something, for an appliance that my Powerwall 2 had already covered, and yet I paid that money to my power company. I can't even say it. It really hurts. It's been rectified, don't worry. My electrician came over yesterday and we solved it. It's all good now, but I want to show you the mistake that I've made and also so that you, if you own a Powerwall 2, not to make the same mistake, because I'd hate for you to do the same thing. So let's draw up my my power situation here in my home. And look, I've got a whiteboard, right? I've got a whiteboard finally. I've got lots of different colored pens, and we can finally make some lovely diagrams on this beautiful whiteboard here. So let's start with the sun, because the sun is what we all like to try to use to save money and also to keep our planet happy. So that's the sun. Let's draw my home over here. It's not exactly my home, but you get the idea. And let's put the grid over here, the nasty grid, which we try to avoid using at all cost, literally. So, those of you know that I am on a three-phase home, so I've got three phases coming in, and obviously those of you who are electricians and that way inclined, this is not a perfect electrical representation, but you get the idea of my three phases here supplying my home. Let's put my Powerwall 2 in green on this phase, which is the A phase over here. Alright, so that's my lovely Powerwall 2 that supplies my home on this phase. So it goes there and also gets power from the sun as well. Let's put my hot water system, which is on this phase here. Let's call this phase C. Let's put my big hot water unit here, which is a heat pump, as you may know. Some of you have seen my videos. So the heat pump is supplying my home there with lovely hot water. Electrically, it is also supplied from the grid because it's on this phase, and I've got a single phase Powerwall 2. So electricity comes in from the grid, goes to the heat pump, supplies the home. And this is important, in Sydney, on my power tariff anyway, I've got something called a controlled load. So the power company supplies a meter here at this point. So we'll call that the controlled load meter. And the controlled load basically gives me what the power company thinks is a cheaper rate, but it controls how much electricity my heat pump receives from the grid. So for example, it's on all the time, but no, well, it's not on all the time, but it's connected to the home all the time, but the power is controlled by the grid or by my power company. So for example, in summer, I'll only get 2 hours of power during the night time, and in winter I think it's about 3.5 hours to account for longer and colder days. So now, so that we understand how the hot water works, I'll put my hot water system here using controlled load, which is what normally happens. So those of you who have seen my video with regards to how a Powerwall 2 works with the three-phase home, just label that for you, Powerwall 2. So how a Powerwall 2 normally works with the three-phase home is like this. So on the A phase, it's quite easy. So anything on the A phase, which is, I guess, most of my electricals, right? I'll try to put, I don't know how many percent, but a lot of the electricals are on the A phase, because then the Powerwall can directly supply any of the load on the A phase directly. So whether it be from the sun, via the gateway, I'll put another label here. Let's put the red label here as the gateway. This is kind of like the brains of the operation. So the power comes from the sun to the Powerwall 2 or directly to the home to supply the load in my home on the A phase. And then it feeds back as an export tariff, if necessary, back to the grid if there's too much electricity. Now on these other two phases, what actually happens in a three-phase home is that you get electricity directly from the grid anyway, say for example on this B phase to like B loads in my home. So you get that load anyway from the grid, but then what happens is that the Powerwall 2 senses that, well, the gateway senses how much load is coming in via the B phase, and then sends that equivalent amount of load back on the A phase back to the grid, if that makes sense. So for example, if my load on the B phase is like 1 kilowatt, the gateway will quickly match that and send 1 kilowatt back on this phase here. That way, electrically it's balanced, it nets off what you're using, and billing wise you don't notice it because it nets it off, so that's quite good. Same with the C phase, you know, anything on the C load, it'll send to the house, but then it'll net off on the Powerwall 2's load, on the Powerwall 2's phase, and you'll get the same thing. You'll net off how much you're using, and electrically, and also financially, you won't notice it on your bill because it looks like the Powerwall 2 is net off the amount of load supplied to the C phase. So that's all fine and dandy. I thought that's exactly what's happening with my hot water. I thought that even though the hot water was on a separate phase, getting electricity from the grid, my Powerwall 2 was sending the equivalent amount back to the grid. So, for example, my hot water, I think it uses like 1.2 kilowatt. It's pretty efficient compared to a normal hot water system. And the Powerwall 2 would send that back to the grid. And I'll show you a picture of my app, my Tesla app. I thought it was doing exactly that. You'll see this picture here on this monitoring. So that looks, for example, last night before I changed it, or sorry, 2 nights ago before I changed it with my electrician, the Powerwall 2 was covering my hot water, which is that peak you see on the app. So then I had a quick look back at my bills, because I did a video on how much I can expect to save with adding more panels, and I was going through each time of use tariff. So I was going through like peak, off peak, shoulder, and then I went to controlled load. And I said I'd be knocking off that much amount as well. And one of our viewers, Alex, thanks Alex for pointing this out. He said that no, controlled load will still stay the same because you're metered. And I sort of questioned that. I thought I was being covered with the Powerwall 2, but then I went back to my bills and I thought he's right, because each quarter I'd still been paying my controlled load to the equivalent amount that I've been using, and I can swear that I've been covering, especially in summer, I've been covering the load with my Powerwall 2. Then I realized, oh man, I've been paying like to the tune of $150 over 12 months. Unnecessarily. Oh, I'm going to put that in red because that really, really annoys me. Like, that money could have been spent on something else. Anyway, enough about me. My anger is subsiding, don't worry, because I fixed it. So I called my electrician, it's now fixed. The hot water, now get this, the hot water is now being supplied by the sun directly. So via this A phase, because I'm on a single phase inverter, A phase going to the hot water, which is great. It's going to bypass the meter, goodbye meter, no longer metered. And I've set, so in the past, because of the controlled load, it used to come on at say about 11 p.m. at night, right? Because when the grid is sort of at its lowest, when not many people are using electricity. But now that I've got it coming from the sun, I've tentatively, and this is where I need your help, guys, I tentatively made it 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for now, because that's when the sun is kind of at its highest intensity around my house, and I can just see historically that's when I get the most solar energy from my panels. And that's in summer, right? So I guess 2 hours a day. I'll see how I go, because that's how many hours it used to run in summer with the controlled load meter. And I'm thinking, well, 2 hours a day to heat my hot water system for like a household of 4 people should be enough. But guys, if you're doing the same thing I'm doing, where the sun is heating the hot water directly during the day, let me know how many hours you guys put it on for, and does it change with the seasons? And I've also got a timer as well, or a controller, my electrician called it, and I'll put a picture of that up for you on my circuit board. That way I can adjust how many hours I want it on, whenever. So that's my fix, guys, for hot water. So just a word of warning: don't make the same mistake I made if you've got a Powerwall 2 and you've got a heat pump or whatever hot water system you've got here. If you're still using controlled load, just be really careful, because that hot water likely, especially if you're on a 3-phase home, likely is not going to be on the same phase as your Powerwall 2, just because they balance the load out between the 3 phases. But even if it's on the same phase, even if you've got a single phase home, it's going to be metered if you're on a controlled load system. So be careful with that. if you're doing what I'm doing, just check your bills. You might be also paying for nothing, which, again, if you're doing that, I'm sorry, but, you know, I feel your pain. I do sympathize. But get your electrician in there quick smart. Get that hot water directly connected to your solar system. That way you're getting basically free electricity, which is what I'm doing today. It's a sunny day and my hot water is free at last. Love it. Alright guys, had to rant. Thanks for listening to that. And yeah, I'm feeling better now. Alright guys, thanks for watching my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really want to hear your comments today about this. What time I should put my timer on for my hot water system. Thanks for supporting Ludicrous Feed. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers. I think we're up to 1961, 62, so we're almost there. Got a new logo in production with my logo designer. Really close. Merchandise is coming, I promise. And guys, stay tuned. Thanks for supporting. Have a lovely day. Take care. And as always, happy charging. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of the energy revolution. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe to stay up to date with our latest videos. Happy charging!